Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to this discussion of Stardom Dream Queendom 2024. It all comes down to this. On December 29th, the final page of Stardom's year will be turned, and we will discover the earliest indications of what the company has in store for 2025. Will Stardom be protected, or will hate reign supreme? To answer these questions, I need the help of a powerhouse in the realm of Joshi coverage, from Fightful and from the 5-Star Joshi Show, and from much, much more. My guest today is Scott Edwards, aka Scott E. Wrestling. Mr. Edwards, how is your day going so far?
It's going great. It's the best time of the year to be a fan of professional wrestling. It's the best time of year to be a Joshi fan. I'm excited to be here with you today to talk the wonderful world that is Stardom, and of course, the biggest show of the year, Stardom Dream Queendom 2024.
So I want to talk about your expectations for this show with a question that's kind of a two-pronged question. With Dream Queendom this year, what do you think they need to pull off? Or what on the card, or what about the show, the presentation, what needs to happen at this show for, in your eyes, Dream Queendom to be considered a success? And then if there is anything that comes to mind, what do you think is going to surprise people that watch this show? Something that maybe they don't expect, something they underestimate, something that will pop out and draw their attention, so on and so forth.
For me, Dream Queendom, and I'm going to go hand in hand as well with the Wrestle Kingdom show, where Mayu Iwatani defends the IWGP Women's Championship against Azumi, is that this show needs to be building towards the future. And when I say that is I pick 4 people out specifically, and that is Hanan, Iida, Azumi, and Starlight Kid. These are 4 wrestlers that if you're Bushiroad, if you're Stardom, you want to be part of your core for years to come. You have put them all in big situations to walk away from these shows as champion, to represent your company as champion. We know that there's been rumors. We've known that there's been speculation that there's always an opportunity that some of these wrestlers may go elsewhere sometime in the new year. But the best way to stop that is to make these wrestlers happy and believe in them and trust in them. And I think I look at those 4 the most, especially Hanan, Azumi, and Starlight Kid, because I think many people see them in a potential ace-like role / triple main eventers, and it's been that way for many, many years. To me, it feels like something that they could have done last year with Suzuki. Ultimately, they chose against it. They went with Maika, and I'd argue that was a great choice because obviously Maika has become Bushiroad's new favorite wrestler, as I like to say for her. She is the one that they like to push the most. But for Dream Queendom to walk away out of this as a success and a bright future is to go with the future. The 3 people I think especially that we've been saying now is their time for the past 2 years or so. I think Stardom's biggest decision will be what is the direction of this company with H.A.T.E. And when I say that is, do they want H.A.T.E continuing to lead in a way that was stunted earlier this year when Natsuko Tora won and then immediately lost the championship, and go with Saya Kamitani as that new leader of sorts? Because I think there is a conversation to be had here that goes, if Saya Kamitani wins this championship, wins the World of Stardom title, and beats Tam Nakano, the woman that Natsuko Tora lost to after she went over in the 5-Star Grand Prix, there's no other direction to me than not only is Natsuko Tora in risk of losing her spot at the top of H.A.T.E, she's in risk of losing her spot, period, in the group. And I think that is a very interesting story to tell. And as someone who has been very up and down with the H.A.T.E group as a whole, and listen, I am a traditionalist. I love Oedo Tai and the idea of the group. But I do think that the change ultimately to create something new is not a bad idea whatsoever, especially if we make this pivot. I think my biggest problem with H.A.T.E is that it was just Oedo Tai with a new name. H.A.T E can become its own true thing if at the end of the year we are watching things change with Saya Kamitani now taking over the group and leading in her vision, something that is very fitting of her story after watching Queen's Quest crumble underneath her against this group. I think that will get people to pay attention, people to talk. And truthfully, as I sit here, as someone who's not been loving the way they've handled H.A.T.E since the beginning, because I think the Tora title loss really hurt the group, and then the Saya Kamitani 5-star Grand Prix loss hurt the group. I think if the night looks like Momo Watanabe and Thekla losing, Natsuko Tora losing, maybe Konami losing, but Saya Kamitani winning, it creates an incredible dimension where she goes from, this is my new home, to I'm the captain. This is my group. And she leads it by example. And we see her finally become the leader that she felt like she was becoming earlier this year with Queen's Quest, but now in her Phoenix Queen gimmick.
That's a really great set of observations and very much in line with sort of the vision that I'm seeing with this card, the potential results and how they can inform what happens immediately afterwards. Since we're on the topic of Saya Kamitani, she's obviously in the main event here, challenging Tam Nakano for the red belt. I'm actually of the opinion that if we were to line up the potential follow-up title challengers for either Tam Nakano, put that in sort of one category, or for Saya Kamitani on the other category, I haven't given this a ton of thought, but I actually feel like there's almost more fuel in the tank of a continued Tam Nakano run with people that she could defend against. And when it comes to Saya, there's only a couple of people that immediately come to mind. Do you share that opinion? Do you have any thoughts one way or the other about that?
I think Tam and her title reign has much more fuel than a Saya Kamitani title win and reign right now. Tam Nakano has a lot of unfinished business, it feels like, throughout this promotion. You named Mayu Iwatani, of course, as a very obvious one. Mayu did, of course, beat her in the 5-star Grand Prix. And then there is the long time great told story that has been going on that Tam Nakano cannot beat Mayu Iwatani. That is a story that I think they eventually pay off sometime in 2025. And when I look at Saya Kamitani, for me, the direction is she's winning the title to lose it to Maika. That feels like the reasoning of giving her this championship, because the long-term play for me has always been Maika and Saya Kamitani with the World of Stardom Championship on the line. It just feels like the direction they want to go. There was always the reality, I thought, of give Tam Nakano the belt in a time of uncertainty that has been much of 2024 to soothe things over, and most importantly, get your most popular wrestler on top, especially with her title reign ending the way it did last year. But as we look to the future, it's difficult for me to not think Tam makes the most sense as the continued champion. But do they want to give Saya Kamitani two incredibly huge losses in 1 year? And let me rephrase that, in a 6-month run where she is under this new gimmick, where she has went to the dark side. If she loses this match, is there any coming back for Saya Kamitani after the year she's had in 2024? It feels like the reason to make this the match is because Saya Kamitani is supposed to be champion. I could be wrong. I kind of hope I am wrong, because I just think it's more interesting for Tam. But if the situations we had talked about earlier regarding the transformation of H.A.T.E and potentially Saya Kamitani taking over the reign as leader, then maybe that makes her title reign more interesting in the future.
I think we're pretty much in line in terms of how we're seeing this, because I kind of feel like there's more potential, at least storytelling potential or match quantity potential in a Nakano reign. But I also lean towards Saya getting the victory on the 29th for the reasons you stated. For other reasons, I'd like to know who you have as the next challenger, either for a victorious Tam or for a victorious Saya Kamitani. For me, it's a little easier to pick the Saya side of it, I think, because they've been teasing a little bit of intrigue between her and Saori Ano, who is not only competing at Dream Queendom, but is a close friend of Tam Nakano. And that's a match that I wouldn't say it's necessarily been protected, but we haven't seen it. It's an intriguing, high-profile match, two popular wrestlers. I think I might guess that they may pull the trigger on Syuri challenging Tam Nakano, especially she's also competing at Dream Queendom. Could line up fairly well against Tam.
They've teased the Syuri match in the past couple months. I think Syuri is actually a fitting contender for both wrestlers, whether they win or lose, because there is the obvious teasing and the history that Syuri and Tam have, where it's as simple as when Syuri was World of Stardom champion, Tam challenged and failed. There's also the opposite side. Syuri is fighting Konami. She is in a spot to beat one of H.A.T.E's members and go on to a bigger match here in the future. I think Syuri is a great chance. I think Saori Ano is also a viable option for both wrestlers, because I think Saori Ano being the one to follow the Tam loss to try and get the belt back to Cosmic Angels, especially if maybe Natsupoi also loses. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes, I'm sure. I think that is a real possibility as well. But there's also the possibility for Tam. How soon do we want to do the Mayu Iwatani match? I think that is also in question here. Maika does not come into the picture for me right now. I think we are saving her for All-Star Grand Queendom. So that is my reasoning, I think, for all those. But I'm right there with you in terms of Saori Ano as well as Syuri as potential challengers, whether it be Saya Kamitani or Tam Nakano.
Let's just go ahead and jump into our next match, which is the Wonder of Stardom Championship match between, I guess we'll say, two eternal foes, Natsupoi and Starlight Kid. I would love to hear your thoughts on this match, what you're looking at specifically, what your level of anticipation is in general.
Natsupoi versus Starlight Kid is a fascinating matchup. I don't think that their preview matches have been blow away by any means, but I also know Natsupoi doesn't want to give a lot of way in her matches. She is in a way the opposite of Tam. I don't think she's the best preview match wrestler, but when it comes to the title match, I know what she's capable of. And this is Starlight Kid's biggest opportunity to date. This is an opportunity that, if you have followed Stardom for the past couple of years, I think people have been expecting. Now we're here. Now it will be Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, Team Mutual Love, no more. Heartbreaking. I think this match has all the potential to be the best match of the night. Despite everything I said about their past, I think this match is the favorite to be the match of the night, because what they are to do is to go out there and simply steal the show. The Wonder of Stardom Championship is a title that often outshines the World of Stardom Championship. It's why I love this championship. It's why I will always love this championship. It's not the 2 to the World of Stardom's 1. It is the 1B to World of Stardom's 1A. Natsupoi and Starlight Kid are going to go out there with a goal. And I think their goal, what I expect to happen is a Starlight Kid victory. Natsupoi is going to do everything in her power to make the new champion look incredible in her title victory. I'm very excited for this match. I am very excited for these two. Big Match Poi is a very special wrestler, especially when we go into Ryogoku Sumo Hall. And I think Starlight Kid, since turning back to the good side, has been at the top of her game. I have all the confidence in these two to go out there and have one heck of a match. That you asked me earlier, what is going to make people remember Stardom Dream Queendom? A match that I think these two are capable of can make people remember Stardom Dream Queendom 2024 very fondly.
I haven't seen in depth their preview matches, their most recent ones, but they do seem to be trading submission attempts and victories, which leads me to think that will play some storytelling component in this match. And I invoked the phrase eternal foe. Starlight Kid has a move that she reserves for just a couple of people, and Natsupoi is one of them. So the eternal foe, the Spanish fly, probably will show up at some point on the 29th. So I hope people will keep an eye out for that. And I am leaning slightly Starlight Kid, though almost in the same vein with Tam, I want more from Natsupoi with the white belt. But it just seems to me that the intrigue in terms of upcoming contenders leans a little more heavily towards SLK. And also an interesting parallel, just these two matches, we've seen both challengers best the champions for other singles belts. So there is a bit of history repeating itself. There's a lot of mirror image style booking with current Stardom. The two first contenders for the red and white belt this year were Saya Kamitani and Starlight Kid. They're also the final contenders. So we're going to start seeing these sort of reflections and repetitions. When Saya joined H.A.T.E, that same weekend, Starlight Kid formed Neo Genesis. Their years have kind of reflected each other in these weird ways. I think you've brought up a lot of really good points about the future, and not just literally the future, but the wrestlers that represent that. And I think one of the strongest examples is our Goddess of Stardom title match. You've already talked a little bit about Hanan and Saya Iida. The only thing I want to throw in is that they have had some massive wins this year, and they are poised to have stellar 2025s if this year is any indication. So can you give me some of your thoughts on this matchup, please?
There is no championship match over the Japanese Pro Wrestling Super 2 weeks, or as New Japan likes to call it, Wrestle Kingdom Week, that needs to change hands more than the Goddesses of Stardom championships on Stardom Dream Queendom. If it was anyone but Wing Gori, I'd still probably say this. But now that it is Wing Gori, there's an added emphasis on crowning these two after the year they've had. I think there is an argument to be had when you vote for MVP or most valuable wrestlers team, whatever it may be, that not only does Hanan deserve that, but Saya Iida does as well. I do a annual 5-star Joshi award show, an awards that I have all Joshi fans, Joshi podcasters, writers, everything. I have everyone vote. When there is a Stardom MVP vote, Wing Gori will be on there together, because I think you can't put their year separate. Hanan maybe, because of, like you said, all the wins she's had, plus the Cinderella tournament win. But it feels like they've always been by each other's side, no matter what. And these two have done nothing but shine this year. On the flip side of this match is Thekla and Momo Watanabe. Listen, I know a lot of people are fans of Thekla. I don't think she shined much this year. I think it's been a tough year for her trying to figure out this heel gimmick. I think there was a lot of mystery around her at the beginning of the year when she kind of disappeared. She was nursing injuries, but she has kind of hinted in interviews since then that she is interested in going overseas. I'm not here to say one way or the other what she was likely be doing when she had left Stardom at one point, but she came back, obviously joined Oedo Tai, which has changed to H.A.T.E. Momo Watanabe, on the other hand, unfortunately for her, has been put in the spot of title challenger and ultimately title challenge loser. It dates back to All-Star Grand Queendom. She goes against Maika in the 2 out of 3 stages of hell style match. She loses there. She then has a tough run in the 5-star Grand Prix where she is eliminated early, and then challenges Mercedes Moné for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, which, of course, she lost. And then at Historic Crossover, we saw her challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship, but she gave us some hope. I think there was some hope given to us all in that match, especially after how the Queen's Quest stuff happened earlier this year, where she ripped our hearts out in a match where she get emotional. Think about it. What a pivot the year might have been had she actually been joining Queen's Quest. She gave us hope when she refused to use the baseball bat against Mayu Iwatani. Yes, she did lose, but I think there is a overly exciting potential regarding Momo Watanabe in 2025 based on her year, based on being in Oedo Tai, being in H.A.T.E, and only coming up short. And I think there's an emphasis in this match to, again, come up short in the end. She did it at the end of last year at this very show with these tag belts on the line. I think she should do it again while also putting over Gori, who have done nothing but shine, nothing but thrive, and nothing but over deliver in their biggest opportunities. So I'm giving them their crowning moment here and letting them bring the tag belts back to the glory that they were at earlier this year between Aphrodite, Crazy Star, and of course FWC.
I do also lean towards Gori taking these belts. My question regarding the fallout of this match, or just the fallout of the story we're on with Momo Watanabe, is do you think we've seen the last full calendar year of Momo Watanabe in a heel faction? Is this the end or the beginning of the end of Momo Watanabe as a heel in Stardom?
Yes. I believe 2025 is the year that Momo Watanabe switches back to the, I don't expect her to be a Queen's Quest leader or even a leader at that, but I expect her to return to that form. Much like Starlight Kid, the heel run for Momo Watanabe has now run its course. It made sense when it happened because that group needed it, and she was no longer in a spot that felt like the true leader of her group. And I think it gave her an interesting way of creating a character for herself, creating a story for herself, and getting what I'd argue was the one thing missing from her game, which was the outside aspect. And when I say outside aspect, Momo Watanabe on her best day, there's maybe 1, 2, 3 wrestlers in the world better than her. I'll never doubt that. Momo Watanabe is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. But when it comes to her stature pre Oedo Tai, I almost said hate, but pre Oedo Tai, she just kind of was there, especially post Wonder of Stardom title reign. There's never any doubt of her wrestling ability. I do think that this heel turn was a good thing for her, but it has now run its course. The amount of teases this year they've given us has to be leading to Momo Watanabe returning to her previous stature of badass babyface that can beat anyone on any day. And I hope that's where we're going. So many losses in this position, not just this year, though 3 years tough, but dating back years and years. We are on our way to a new Momo Watanabe, and a Momo Watanabe that I'm very excited to see.
The leader of H.A.T.E is going to be competing in a match that is very much in her element, I would assume. A no disqualification match against the woman that she did slay to take or steal away or capture the red belt title. I may be wrong, but I don't know that Maika in particular is someone that gets an invitation into the Scott Edwards inner circle. But I do want to ask, they had a press conference. They established that this no DQ match is going down. This is the only way to settle their differences. Can you agree that Maika's a freaking badass in this photo? I mean, right?
Yes, but someone tweeted she looks like a painter. I can't get it out of my head. This match is booking 101. Get your new ace, get your top face her win back, right? She's never got the win back against Natsuko Tora. That title loss, while there was a reason she lost, is still over her head. It is still the loss that she needs to redeem herself in. For me, the no DQ aspect of this And for this to work is to welcome the color into this. And when I say the color, I of course mean the blood aspect that has indeed gone years and years through Joshi history. Maika's winning. That is, to me, a lock, because my hope is that this leads to maybe the end of Natsuko Tora leading H.A.T.E once and for all. Her coming up short again against one of the top foes of H.A.T.E this time. I think that is a great leaping point for her removal as leader. And I think this match means just as much to her future as it does to Maika's. Maika, I think she's going to have to be patient to get that new title shot. But Natsuko Tora, like we've been saying, could be removed from this group one way or the other. Again, we'll have to wait and see.
I'm going to pivot us over to a match where I'm actually thinking we may differ on the outcome. And I'll kind of pitch you my thoughts, my idea. But we can go ahead and talk about the feud or maybe revenge plot that has involved Syuri and Konami. This time it is going to be a knockout or submission only match, I think. Now, we've seen them compete in a UWF rules match, which is very eerily similar to a knockout or submission only match. This is very, very, very specific this time. And the stipulation itself makes me kind of think twice or look at this twice. I feel like they would only do this if they do have something very specific planned for how this match will conclude. From what I remember of UWF, there's almost like a point system in play, and it creates this inherent dramatic pressure because one of the competitors can fall so behind on points that the only way they can actually overcome the deficit is that they need a finish. They need to get a submission. They need a knockout. This match requires either a knockout or a submission. So that makes me think that they're going to inject something squirrely into this to get us to that point. Now, far be it from me to expect someone like Syuri to almost ever get submitted or knocked out. That is like rarefied air. That's one of those achievements that you never get in the video game. But this is Konami we're talking about. And this version of Konami, as far as I can tell, is known for one thing and one thing alone. And that's blinding motherfuckers with spray paint. That's all I know about her at this point. And because Konami is just so closely connected to the spray paint gimmick, one of the things I think they might do is find a way to have Syuri be blinded by the spray paint, which leaves her very vulnerable to things like head kicks. She's not going to be able to see some of these strikes coming. And so maybe they're going to work their way into Konami being able to achieve this like monumental task or meet this monumental challenge with the mix of some of her cheating, which she can't be disqualified for. Syuri can't beat her through that means. So I don't know. Something about this is just very squirrely, and it's just the perfect amount of weirdness to find a way for Konami to actually win this match, which story-wise doesn't make a lot of sense. Aside from the fact that I heard or read somewhere, someone mentioned that Konami was interested potentially in challenging for the IWGP title next year. And so if that's a serious reference or that's something they're taking seriously, this might be a first step in getting us to that point.
The way I look at this match is you're making a decision. You're making a decision of where is Syuri going after a year of really going nowhere, which is unfortunate because Syuri is undeniably one of the best, and in the few opportunities she's had to show that this year, she has indeed shown it. You go back to January 4th, 2024, her and Mayu Iwatani stole the show. My problem with this match is that it lost a lot of its fuel after the turn and the DQ finish that they had in their first singles match, because it just kind of was abandoned, right? The 5-star Grand Prix happened, and there was not a lot of traces of Syuri and H.A.T.E beyond very, very little aspects, and I don't even think H.A.T.E was in her block in the 5 star. So it really was a removal of her from that story, and it just felt like, oh, we're not paying that off. I think there is something to be said to what you hinted at potentially happening, which is the DQ, or sorry, no DQ, knockout, submission aspect of this. You would assume disqualifications out of the league of possibilities because of that. And we are going to have a winner instead of going to the UWF style where there is a lot of rules. Ultimately, like you said, with the point system and rope breaks and all that, we changed the rules to whoever's knocked out or submitted, you lose. And how do we get there? Konami could have tricks up her sleeve. She could have H.A.T.E up her sleeve, I'm sure, as well. But to me, the reason I don't see Konami winning this match is because I'm going to assume H.A.T.E is preoccupied throughout the night. They have a lot of stuff following this match that you'd like to think they're very focused on. Well, I love Ryogoku and I love Rina, and Azusa Naba might be on this show. I actually forget. And Fukigen Death, obviously. Never forget Fukigen Death. I think Syuri should have enough firepower in God's Eye, because we know the rest of God's Eye is doing nothing on this show, that they should be able to fight that off, and Syuri should be able to get that win. Syuri is someone who I'd like to see get more focus in the new year. I fear she is going down the Bushiroad path that they do in New Japan with veteran wrestlers, where they just kind of start pushing them to the side out of title pictures, and then their best bet to thrive is elsewhere. I'm hoping for Stardom they avoid doing that to Syuri, because this is someone who is only a few years removed from the match of the year, the reign, and so on.
I've been wondering about that. I've been wondering about how much of a flight risk she might actually be. It's just like you said, this whole year had a lot of gaps, a lot of not low points, but just kind of quiet points. All right, well, let's start to wind things down here. We've covered a number of the individual stories, the potential path that these things can lead. But I want to summarize this event with one last question. It's once again a two-pronged question. I'd like for you, if something comes to mind, to look at these various title matches and pick one of the titles in Stardom that's going to be on the line, and one of the factions in Stardom that currently registers in your mind. One title, one faction that you are most interested in seeing develop next year in 2025. So my question is, which title do you pick and which faction do you pick?
Faction-wise, I'm very interested to see where EXV goes, because EXV from the start felt thrown together, and we are seemingly on the cusp of Mina Shirakawa no longer being a Stardom roster member. She could say her present is Stardom as much as she wants, because it is true. But she is very popular elsewhere, of course, that being AEW, and I think she is bound to go there. So if she were to leave Stardom, that leaves EXV without the V, and that makes it difficult. And as I've been thinking about it through this episode, as we were talking about a certain wrestler potentially going back to the babyface side of things, I thought, who makes the most sense to potentially be 1-1 with Maika? And that might be Momo Watanabe, because there is no clear spot, I think, for Momo Watanabe if she were to turn babyface. But that's the faction of nothing's clear. So it might make sense, because if they want to recraft that from EXV to something new, I think there is potential there. Maybe a better name as well, please. And then when it comes to the title, I'm most intrigued and interested to see how it flows post Dream Queendom. It's the Wonder of Stardom Championship. The Wonder of Stardom Championship has had a run the past year and a half, right? And now we are going here into the end of the year where Starlight Kid is in a golden opportunity to win the championship and I think settle the championship. To have a real run that is not only formidable, but similar to many of the great Wonder of Stardom title reigns we've seen, whether it be a reign of Io Shirai, whether it be a reign of Momo Watanabe or Saya Kamitani or Arisa Hoshiki, something of that sort that puts a lot of prestige behind it again.
Well, no matter who is getting dethroned, crowned, deposed, defeated, we're definitely going to have to watch closely and wait to see what unfolds in the final chapter of Stardom's tumultuous, just unpredictable, chaotic 2024 that I think they will at least find themselves on better footing than where they were a year prior. Mr. Edwards, thank you so very much for discussing the ins and outs of all these matches and storylines. Can you please let the folks listening know a little bit more about what you're up to, where they can find you, and what is on the horizon?
Yes, you can find me, whether it be Twitter or Blue Sky, at Scott E Wrestling, just Scott E Wrestling on Blue Sky. Best place to find me, where I do all my thoughts and opinions on the world of wrestling in immediate fashion. I think that's the best way to say it. In the new year, I'll be leaning more on my YouTube channel. So youtube.com/@ScottEWrestling. Have a lot of plans there. The 5-Star Joshi Show will be making its way to my YouTube channel in a video aspect, but you can also check out the Fight Game Media Network feed on all podcast platforms to listen to my weekly Joshi Show. December 29th, Stardom Dream Queendom 2024. Of course, we just talked about that for a good amount of time. Live stream over on the Fight Game Media Network YouTube channel. I will be reviewing Stardom Dream Queendom with some friends. Should be a lot of fun. We do it every year. It's always a good time. If you're interested at all in diving into the world of Marigold, I will be doing the same on January 3rd for Marigold's first stream. So 2 live streams. It's a good time. We talk about the show. We talk about the future of these promotions, where to go. Every year for Stardom, we've done it since the first one, I believe. So it's a lot of fun to get right back at it. And the last thing I'm going to plug here, 5-Star Joshi Awards, 3rd annual, are coming up. The ballot will be out as soon as the year is over, because Joshi goes until the very last day. So we got to make sure there's no buzzer beaters in terms of match of the year or show of the year or anything like that. Among the awards will be Stardom MVP, Wrestler of the Year, Show of the Year, and so on and so forth. Rookie of the Year. But I invite all to vote. If you are a Joshi fan, if you are a Stardom fan, if you are a Stardom podcaster, Joshi podcaster, writer, if you just want to learn some names and you don't do any of it, you can vote too, but I wouldn't recommend it. It'd be very confusing for you. But I welcome you all to vote. That will be out. I will be tweeting that out. I'll be posting it in Discords. I'll be posting it everywhere so people can get their vote and make their voices heard on the Year in Joshi for 2024.
Once again, thank you so much for chiming in with your thoughts about this show. And everyone, be sure to tune in to Stardom Dream Queendom on December 29th. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening.